Let's talk about what happens when the perfect life turns out to be a total house of cards. We're going to dive into the story of a man who had everything the world tells you to want, lost it all, and in that process found a foundation he never even knew he was missing.
So, how does a man at the absolute top of his game end up saying something like that? Well, this is Mark Miller, a marketing executive whose life took a turn he never, ever could have predicted. We're going to follow his journey from the highest highs of success through the darkest depths of despair to the one single choice that changed everything.
All right, so let's meet Mark. On the surface, this guy is the absolute picture of success. He's a sharp, well-respected marketing director. He's got the company car. He's even planning on putting in a brand new jacuzzi. He's got it all figured out. Or, so it seems.
And this right here, this really lays it all out. The life he's showing the world, it's all built on a super fragile foundation of credit cards and bank loans. But there's an even deeper crack beneath all that financial stress. He is still wrestling with the unbelievable grief of losing his daughter, Esther. And that unresolved pain, well, that's where his cynicism comes from. It's why he just dismisses his wife's deep religious faith, because in his grief, he just can't see it. So you just know that fragile foundation, it's about to get tested. A huge economic crisis hits the country, and the unpleasant measures his boss keeps warning him about, they're about to get very, very personal. And boom, just like that, it's over. Mark gets called into his boss's office and is told his entire department, the one he built, is being eliminated. The first pillar of his entire identity, his career, gone in an instant. This is just the first domino to fall. And wow, this timeline really shows you just how fast a life can unravel. Losing his job isn't just one bad thing. It's the catalyst for everything else. He relapses into the alcoholism he'd fought so hard to overcome for 2 years. Then, the things he owns start to disappear. The Jeep is repossessed, and then, the final blow. The foreclosure notice for their house arrives. Everything he thought he had built is just collapsing all around him. And you can imagine, right, this total collapse of his material world, it just triggers a complete spiritual meltdown. He lashes out at his wife, mocking her faith, and you can hear all his pain in this one quote. The grief for his daughter, the anger at his situation, all of it is just aimed at a God he believes has totally abandoned him, if he was ever even there to begin with. Okay, so this is it. This is rock bottom for Mark. He finds out that a former colleague, Peter, who was also laid off, tried to take his own life. Hearing this, Mark just sees his own reflection. He feels completely worthless, totally convinced he's failed his family and there's just no way out. He is completely and totally broken. And that really brings us to a huge question, doesn't it? When the career, the money, the home, and all hope is gone, what's left? What choice do you make? For Mark, this becomes the single most important moment of his entire life. So in his darkest hour, as he's thinking about following the same path as his colleague, Mark just finds himself standing in front of a church. And in this moment of just total surrender, he decides to hand his life over to God. This one act leads to this profound shift. He goes home and, for the first time, truly apologizes to his wife, finally acknowledging her pain. Then he picks up a Bible and, inspired by the story of Solomon asking for wisdom instead of riches, he finds a completely new purpose. I mean, the change is just night and day. His old life was all about chasing money and status, basically doing anything to run away from his grief. His new motivation? It's completely internal. He's not praying for a high-paying job anymore, but for the wisdom to be a better husband and to just understand where he's being led. It's a fundamental reordering of his entire world. And you know what? Things actually start to turn around. He gets a new job, and he's great at it. He even helps these warring colleagues find some common ground. Then, in this beautiful moment of hope, his wife tells him she's pregnant. It really seems like his faith has been rewarded. But his biggest challenge? Oh, it's right around the corner. Then, completely out of the blue, the police show up at his door. He's accused of embezzling 50 million euros through this complex scheme involving an offshore company. And the evidence looks really bad. The company is registered in the Bahamas, where Mark happened to take a vacation once, and the owner, a former colleague of his. The case seems airtight, and he's looking at a decade in prison. But look at his response now. This is where we see the real change. The old Mark, he would have just imploded with anger and despair. The new Mark, though, even though he's facing absolute ruin, he holds on to his faith. He tells his wife he doesn't get it, but he trusts that just like the biblical figure Joseph, who was also falsely accused, he won't be abandoned.
This is the ultimate test.
So the trial starts, and honestly, things look really, really grim. His court-appointed lawyer is basically telling him to plead guilty. But then, an unexpected defender shows up. It's the father of a young man Mark had helped at work, and he just so happens to be a brilliant lawyer. And get this, he takes the case for free.
And this new lawyer, wow, he just starts taking the prosecution's case apart piece by piece. First, he presents a bank statement proving Mark's new boss, Nicholas Taylor, bribed the first lawyer to throw the case. Then, he produces photos of Taylor secretly meeting with the owner of the offshore firm. And the final nail in the coffin, the official documents proving that Taylor himself is the secret owner of the whole fraudulent company. Mark was never the criminal. He was just the perfect scapegoat.
You can just imagine the scene in that courtroom. Total shock. The judge immediately dismisses all charges against Mark and orders the arrest of Nicholas Taylor right then and there. In one single dramatic moment, Mark is completely vindicated. The whole conspiracy just collapses.
But the story doesn't even end there. The founder of the company, who watched the entire trial, is so impressed by Mark's integrity through it all that he comes up to him with this incredible offer to take over as the new CEO. Mark stopped chasing riches, and through his character, he found a reward way greater than he could have ever imagined.
And this whole story just leaves us with a final thought, and it's a big one. Mark's first foundation, the one built on money and status, it just crumbled under pressure. But his second one, built on faith and integrity, it withstood the ultimate test. It really makes you wonder, when our own crises come, what is the foundation we're really standing on?